It was so deceiving to the eyes. It looked very simple, but putting the figure together was a totally different story altogether. Hi and welcome back to the channel. I'm Steven. Today with a scale figure review. I don't think this will be a long one. This is my second eStream and also Shibuya Scramble Figure. My first one was FGO stuff, Lancer Autoria, and that figure was great. I loved it, maybe except for the rather cheap feeling base, but that was a massive figure and the price was kind of reasonable. Now moving on to this one right in front of me, this is where the pricing of this figure starts to make a little less sense. And from the title of today's video, I said that I spent 30 minutes trying to assemble or plug this figure into the base, and that is no exaggeration, but we'll get to that in a second. This is Shibuya Scramble Figure 1x7 scale Suomi KP-31 from Girls Frontline or Dolls Frontline in Japan. And yes, this is somehow my very first Girls Frontline figure, by the way. Because she is cheap, I got her for a bargain bin price. My view on Girls Frontline as a franchise in general, it feels like this this game or franchise is on a slow and steady decline. At least that is the impression I got. Like day over day, more people are losing interest in it. And it is being reflected in the world of anime figures. Nowadays, we have less GFL figures coming out compared to a year or two ago, and a lot of GFL figures bargain bin. A lot. Not only this one. Maybe you can put aside PA15 and more popular characters like, what was the name again? AK whatever. Right, maybe if you set aside that 2 or 3 very popular characters, where HK416 is one of them, most other characters, their figures are bargain binning, and it is even worse for the case of anything made by Fat Company. So bad that Fat Company had to label Army exclusive on every new GFL figure they put on pre-order nowadays. Normally, I have disdain towards wedding dress figures because they are way too overdone, way too common, just like bunny girl figures, but this one is unique in a way where we get this battle damage effect where you get torn clothes, and in this case, a torn and burnt wedding dress, which is kind of unique. I like it. At 1x7 scale, this Suomi figure stands at 21 centimeters figure only, but if we include the base over here, almost 23 centimeters, which is borderline 1x7 scale. This feels a bit small for 1x7, could have been a 1x7.5 maybe, but we'll set that aside, right? That is not an important detail for today. Now moving on to the unboxing process and assembly process, this is where I wanted to pull my hair out. Yeah, the box was attractive, it was simple, but my impression when I took the figure out from the box is this really a 25,000 yen figure, 25k before taxes. Autoria Pendragon Lancer was only 30k, and that one was a much more impressive figure. This doesn't feel like a 25k figure before taxes. Yeah, it feels like something that should be 5,000 yen cheaper. But anyways, the box was okay, it was normal. And when I took the figure out from the box, my thought was that, this is easy. I just have to plug the figure into the base, and then eventually I would fail to plug the figure into the base at all in my figure haul video. I gave up totally. And then after I was done filming that figure haul video, I took a short break. I tried again. On the third attempt of trying to plug the figure into the base, where I was still filming a figure haul video, I started to notice there is something wrong with the foot peg, where on both feet, right and left feet, both of their foot pegs are kind of distorted in a way. There is a quality control manufacturing issue, where the foot pegs are not perfectly aligned to the holes in the base. Yeah, so there is no way of plugging in the figure into the base at all unless maybe you use a hairdryer or a heat gun and heat up the foot peg, and then you try to bend it ever so slightly without breaking the figure. So if you want to bend the foot peg without breaking it, you need to soften it with heat, right? Normally we use a hairdryer, but I did not use a hairdryer. I found another workaround where apparently one of her legs you can remove her shoe, right? So I had to plug the shoe into the base first after using some force to pry apart the 2 foot pegs, push it in, and then after that I will plug her right foot into the base, And this one required some force also, but after I plugged her right foot into the base successfully, then the last step, I would insert her left leg into this empty shoe over there. So there was actually a very specific technique where you have to follow step by step. Left shoe first, and then right leg, and then finally left leg. And the whole process, I still took over 30 minutes to do it. Yeah, so this is one of the most frustrating figures to put together. Like, it was so deceiving to the eyes. It looked very simple, but putting the figure together was a totally different story altogether. However, there is a big caveat, a big but over here with the method I used to plug the figure into the base by force, and that is her right foot over there. It does not plug into her shoe completely because, you know, the shoe is being twisted in some direction since the pegs are not well aligned. So you get to see this ugly gap between her right ankle and the shoe she is wearing. And this is one of the worst gaps you'll see in a scale figure that costs 25,000 yen, which should not have happened in the first place if the foot pegs were not misaligned. So in my opinion, if you want this figure to look completely flawless, yeah, you have to put in some work. Use a heat gun, use a hair dryer to bend the foot pegs a bit, and hopefully you don't break anything. It is doable. It is perfectly doable. But I don't have a hairdryer with me in a studio. That is not something you expect someone to have in a photography studio, right? And speaking of the contents in the box, you also get this rifle over here, which is KP-31. I am not really a firearms nerd. I have no idea what is a KP-31. But anyways, I suppose that they had to include this firearm, this KP-31 thing, together with the figure because this is a girl's Frontline figure. It wouldn't be complete without this thing, right? I think only Americans bring their guns to a wedding. No one else does that, except girls' Frontline characters maybe. Yeah, this is a bit weird, but I understand the inclusion. Moving on to the sculpting department, this is where I usually don't have any problems with Shibuya Scramble Figure at all. They usually do a great job. The same thing can be said with my Lancer figure over there. If I were to compare this figure together with the product pictures by this company, they look pretty much alike. No problems over here. And the detail level on this figure is average at best. It looks really detailed because of the shading, paintwork, and the torn clothes effect over here. Yeah. So if I were to overlook that feet issue over there on her right foot, this would be easily an 8 out of 10. But because of that foot peg over there, I will deduct as much as 2 points down to 6 out of 10. I know this is really harsh, but that is really unacceptable. And with that flawed foot peg design over here, maybe this is also one of the main reasons why this figure bargain bins. I can't be the only person with this issue on this figure right here. So if you own this figure, let me know whether you have any issues with putting this figure into the base. Meanwhile, the face sculpt of the figure, the most important part, the face, a solid 8.5, 9 out of 10, no problems at all. So this figure is nearly as good as the top figure brands out there when it comes to the sculpting, except for the foot peg over there, which is now the 9th time, the 10th time I mentioned it. Moving on to the paint work, I think this is the part where the painting on this figure elevated this figure to the next level. If they did a Kotobukiya style painting with very flat painting, no shading, no gradients at all, then this figure would look terrible, given that the sculpting detail isn't very high. But when they give us a paint job like this on her dress, all these various shades of pale blue color along her entire wedding dress, we have translucent parts over here, and then we have all these burnt effects across her entire dress because there is battle damage. Yeah. And she wore it to a wedding anyway, so it is exactly this battle damage effect part that makes the figure look attractive. It is very important for this figure. Otherwise, the paintwork on this figure is quite competent, no major QC issues, no paint bleeding, no paint scratches, no uneven surfaces or anything like that. So paintwork is solid on this one. But if there is one thing I would like to nitpick about, like I am not a fan, it is how they did the gradient work on her hair over here. I'm not sure if the original character design of Suomi is like this, but a color gradient change from brown color to blue color is kind of weird. Yeah. Normally, blue color highlights is something you do to black color hair, not brown color hair. So this brown and blue combination is a bit weird, though it doesn't make the figure look any less attractive, just that it feels weird to me. Overall, the paint work is a solid 8 out of 10, I would say. Yeah, I can't give it any higher because this is a simple figure without many fine details to paint, you know. And finally, the base of this figure, I have already mentioned it and criticized it in my figure haul video once, but for the sake of completeness of today's review, I need to mention it briefly. Yeah, I won't touch on the foot peg issues again, but the base on this figure is not something I would expect to see on a 25,000 yen figure. This is like the pop-up grade base I used to see, the hexagonal one, but gown shade instead of hexagonal. And yeah, it has a bukake color of some kind, milky white color, and it is 100% plain. It looks terrible. Maybe the base color over here is suitable for this figure, but that is way too little effort for a figure that cost so much. So I am not a fan of the base at all. And finally, the conclusion for this figure, can I recommend it? Now, even at a bargain bin price, this is a bit difficult to recommend. She is stunning, she is beautiful, but the problem is there are other Suomi figures out there for you to choose from by other brands, and you don't have to go through the headache I faced with this figure when it comes to assembling it. But if you insist on getting one, make sure you find her at a bargain bin pricing. Do not pay full price for this figure. Don't even pay 20,000 yen for her. Try to look for her for an even lower price, as low as possible. Yeah, you can still find her on Taobao, by the way, if you're interested. And until then, that is all for today's figure review of Suomi KP-31 by Shibuya Scramble Figure. If you found this video helpful or informative or entertaining in any way, please give this video a like, a thumbs up, and subscribe to this channel for anime figure content every week. Until then, I'll see you guys again very soon. Goodbye.